Welcome back, guys, to another episode of the Footbas podcast. Today, we are going to talk about the 10 most impactful trades so far from the 2022 NFL offseason. So we're going to go from 10, the least impactful. It's still impactful, but the least out of the top 10 impactful trades, and then 1, the most impactful trade so far of the trade deadline. So number 10 is going to be Amari Cooper, traded to the Cleveland Browns. Wide receiver, played for the Dallas Cowboys, got traded to the Browns for 2022 rounds 5 and 6 picks. So the Cowboys are going to get rounds 5 and 6, or they did get rounds 5 and 6. So they got rounds 5 and 6. Yeah, the draft has already ended, but they did get rounds 5 and 6 picks. Not really sure who they got really in those picks, but they still got those picks, and I'm sure they made some good use out of that, because usually the Cowboys are really good about picking and trading and picking really good draft players, because that's where they get a lot of their talent from, not from trades, usually from draft picks. And Amari Cooper last year did okay. He played really well in the first game against the Bucks, that Thursday night game, first game of the season. He played really well, had 2 touchdowns, over 100 yards. But then there's not really any other games past that he did like insane in. There was a couple games where he scored a touchdown. He was on my fantasy team for a little bit, so that's why I know that. But yeah, so overall, I think the Cowboys made a good trade. And I don't know, the Browns, I don't know if it'll help the Browns too much. Well, I think it will, because Deshaun Watson obviously went to the Browns. I think Amari Cooper might do well there. I got to see how the games go. He's definitely going to be a starting wide receiver, though. Number 9 is going to be Marquise Brown, traded to the Cardinals. The Arizona Cardinals, another wide receiver. Marquise Brown played for the Baltimore Ravens, but got traded to the Cardinals for a 2022 round 1 pick. I don't know who any of these people got. I didn't really pay attention to the draft this year. I usually do, but I didn't really this year. I'm not sure why. But I do know Marquise Brown got traded to the Cardinals for a round 1 pick. And again, kind of just like the Cowboys, the Ravens are pretty good about draft picks. Better than those teams that just can't pick drafts. Like Lions, they are awful at drafting. But yeah, I overall think it's a good trade for the Cardinals. I don't know if it's a great pick for the Ravens. I mean, it's an okay pick for the Ravens, but I think it helps the Cardinals more than it does the Ravens. Just because you got Christian Kirk, who's underrated. You got DeAndre Hopkins. You got a nice tight end, and I think adding Marquise Brown to that mix is just going to blend Kyler Murray so well, especially with his running game he has. They're just going to have a great blend offensively. Number 8 is going to be Carson Wentz, traded to the Washington Commanders for a 2022 round 2 and 3 picks. I do think that Carson the Colts picked wisely, getting rid of Carson Wentz, and I think they did really well with their draft picks. But personally, I don't think it's going to help the Commanders too much, to be honest. I think this was a better decision for the Colts, mainly just because the Colts didn't have a great quarterback in Carson Wentz. They had no one to throw to. And I think the Colts made a good decision, because I know they were trying to get a quarterback in those round 2 and 3 picks. But the Commanders really, I think it might help a little bit, but Carson Wentz really needs to pick up his game in order for the Commanders to have a successful trade in that one. But I personally think the Colts have the advantage on that trade, personally. Number 7 is going to be A.J. Brown, traded to the Philadelphia Eagles for a 2022 rounds 1 and 3 picks. I think this was a good trade for the Eagles. A really good trade. I don't think Tennessee needed to get rid of A.J. Brown because that was like their one guy who just made the offense run, besides Derrick Henry and Ryan Tannehill. But all those 3 guys, Ryan Tannehill, Derrick Henry, and A.J. Brown, were the ones that made that offense run because they didn't really have any other wide receivers besides A.J. Brown. I think this is a good pick for the Eagles because they don't have too many great wide receivers. And I think A.J. Brown mixing with that, I think, is a very good, I think it was a very good pick for the Eagles. And I don't think they're round 1 and 3 picks for the Titans. I feel like I've been saying Colts this whole time. But Titans. For the Titans, I think the rounds 1 and 3 picks were actually a very good. I think that was a good trade. I just don't think getting rid of A.J. Brown was worth that for the Titans. I think the Titans definitely got the short end of that straw right there. And I think the Eagles had a very good pick there, or trade. Number 6 is going to be Matt Ryan, traded to the Indianapolis Colts for a 2022 round 3 pick. I think the Colts was the better trade here for. I think the Colts benefited more from this than the Falcons, really. A round 3 pick, I don't think it's enough, really. I think you should have gotten maybe a 3 and 4 pick, 3 and 5 pick or something. Matt Ryan, obviously not in his prime anymore. I don't really know what the Colts are going to do with him, but I think that the Falcons could have maybe hung on to him for one more year to wait for some better quarterbacks going to the draft next year, because there weren't any great quarterbacks this year that any NFL teams could have gotten. There wasn't really any in the draft prospect, but I think that getting rid of Matt Ryan for the Falcons is kind of a bad idea. I know a lot of people disagree, but I think it was a bad idea just because there were not a lot of people in the draft. Not a lot of quarterbacks in the draft that could make up for Matt Ryan's loss there. Number 5, Davante Adams, traded to the Las Vegas Raiders for 2022 rounds 1 and 2 picks. I think this was better for. Let's just start off saying a lot of people think that this was one of the most. Sorry. L Studios was trying to call me. But nope. Not today. Or not right now. Let's move on. I think that Davante Adams, getting rid of Davante Adams for the Packers was obviously not great, but I think they have enough offensive weapons to kind of make up for that. And also, I think a lot of people think that this was definitely in the top 3 most impactful. I think it was definitely impactful, but not enough to be like Russell Wilson traded to the Broncos, because those are one of the bigger ones. But I think the Packers got the best trade out of this one here. A rounds 1 and 2 pick, that is great. Especially when you have a lot of other offensive weapons to make up for Adams' loss. And I think the Raiders, I think that was a pretty good trade on their end too. Just not good enough. I don't think that they have Hunter Renfrow, they have all those guys, and I think adding Davante Adams is going to definitely blend well, but not enough. I don't think it was worth a rounds 1 and 2 pick that the Raiders could have had to get on a backup quarterback, any one of those, and all those, something like that. Number 4 is going to be Khalil Mack, traded to the Los Angeles Chargers for a 2022 round 2 pick. The The Chargers definitely had the best trade here. Khalil Mack's obviously one of the better defensive linemen in the game right now. Or at least he was. And I don't think the Chargers only had to give up one pick, and that was a round 2 pick. I would be a little more down for the Bears if it was a round 1 pick, but it was a round 2 pick. So I don't think that was worth the. I don't think that is worth it for the Bears to get rid of one of your best defensive linemen just for a round 2 pick, which you're probably not going to do anything with, because the NFC North teams, besides the Vikings and Packers, the Bears and the Lions are not very good at picking draft picks. And you got to know that by now in order to, I think the Chargers had the best trade for that one. Number 3 is going to be Tyreek Hill, traded to the Dolphins for 2022 rounds 1, 2, and 4 picks. I think this is much better for the Chiefs, personally. Obviously, what I said in the previous episode, or a couple episodes ago, that they're not as much of a Super Bowl contender without Hill. But I think with the rounds 1, 2, and 4 picks, I think this helps both teams in a way. This helps both teams. Rounds 1, 2, and 4 picks are obviously really good. 1 and 2, and then you tack on a 4. That's not that bad. That's really good. You can get a lot of stuff with that, and you get your picks that you had already, and that's really good. And especially with the Dolphins not being too good last year, I think it'll definitely help them with their rounds 1 pick, because they have more players to pick from. And obviously, the Dolphins getting Tyreek Hill is not awful. I think that was not a bad trade on their end. I think they probably could have squeezed out with a 1, 2, 5 pick instead of a 1, 2, 4 pick. Like that honestly makes a big difference when you think about it, because that's just one less tier of players that the Chiefs can get. And I think the Dolphins could have snuck in maybe a 5th or 6th pick with the 1, 2 pick. But I think the Chiefs definitely got the best trade out of that one. Number 2 is going to be Deshaun Watson, traded to the Cleveland Browns for 2022 rounds 1 and 4 picks. I think the Texans got the best trade for this one. I don't think the Browns are going to get much out of Deshaun Watson, especially because he hasn't been playing. He didn't play all of last year, so he won't have, at least in the first couple games, he won't have that energy or that knowledge that he had a couple years ago. Like what teams' weaknesses are, because he didn't play all of last year, so he won't be much of a threat as much, at least in the first half of the year or something. And rounds 1 and 4 picks for the Texans, I think that's good, obviously. A rounds 1 pick is good, and I think round 3 or 4 were deadly this year. I think they got some sleepers. A lot of teams got some sleepers out of the rounds 3 and 4 for this year. But I think that Deshaun Watson, I think the Texans got the best out of the Browns there. People keep texting me. It's probably El Studios again. But yeah. Number 1, you guys probably know what it is by now. Russell Wilson traded to the Broncos for quarterback Drew Lock, tight end Noah Fant, and defensive end Shelby Harris. And a 2023 pick, I'm pretty sure also. The Seahawks, I think, definitely got the best. Well, I don't know. This is really close. You know what? I think the Broncos actually got the best trade here, because you're getting rid of your quarterback, which obviously was not very good, and you're getting a star 2-time Super Bowl champion quarterback. You're losing Noah Fant, which didn't do much last year, and you're using Shelby Harris, which is a good defensive end, but you also got other guys, like you got all these other guys that all these other defensive ends that are really good also, so it doesn't really matter too much. And then the 2023 pick, I think the Broncos don't really need it, to be honest. I think it was like 4-3 pick. But yeah, I think getting Russell Wilson was really good for them, and I think they're definitely a big playoff contender this year. Not last year, but this year, I think they definitely are. The Seahawks getting Drew Lock, Noah Fant, Shelby Harris in the 2023 picks. I think that was okay. I think Noah Fant will do some good stuff with them. I think Drew Lock could, if Pete Carroll trains him right. I think he could be a very good quarterback. And getting Shelby Harris, I don't know if it'll help too much in those 2023 picks for the Seahawks. They might help. Oh my goodness, they might help a little bit, but you never know. But yeah, I think the Broncos definitely got the best trade out of that one. So yeah, that is going to be the video, the episode for this week. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Have a great rest of your day, and see ya.